Michael.Yon in Chiang Mai, Thailand. It is 05:17 in the morning here in Chiang Mai, which means it's about 6:17 a.m. in Washington, D.C. I'll be going on live again with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor at about 9:45 p.m. tonight, which is what, 3.5 more hours from now. So that's Eastern Standard Time, 9:45 p.m. Anyway, so many things going on today. Go to your hard points. Obviously, hard points are important to be at soon. What I mean by hard points is that's sort of a military term of your defensible places, your position that you need to be at to be as safe as you can be. Let me put the comments on here. And hello, Andre and Kevin Greenleaf and Michael. Hello, everybody on Brian Kofage's page. You doing great working on the wall down there. You know, Brian and his supporters raised over $25 million to help on our southern border, which is vital. I mean, at these times, look with the situation that's going on now. Wow, you know, this is the kind of times that you need a wall, various sorts of a wall, of course, not just physical, but also legal and that sort of thing. Wow. So Tony is there from YouTube. I'm surprised this is streaming out to YouTube because I got a notice from Restream that it wasn't going to work on YouTube. Hello in Perth and hello in Oklahoma City. A lot of things to talk about. Hello, Eleanor. I'm not actually Brian. I'm Michael.Yon, but I'm on Brian's pages and on my own pages because I fully support what Brian's doing down there. I know people call us xenophobes and all this when we're saying we need a strong southern border, but Brian is a typical American who took it upon himself to work on our southern border, to work on our wall, because we have to do it ourselves. So many of us we just have. Brian got terribly wounded in the war. A lot of people in Brian's position, lost triple amputee, got hurt in combat, and so and yet he came back to the United States, and despite all that, started fighting to secure our borders. I mean, he's a true warrior, and so it's a super honor to be on his page. So yeah, I'm sorry. So it's 6:17 p.m. in Washington now, D.C., and I will be going on live with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor on the John Batchelor Show at 9:45 p.m. So it's about 3 hours from now. All right, let's get on here. Hey, Charlene. Yeah, I totally agree. Brian and his group he has like 250,000 people who've donated to build the wall. They've donated like 250,000 people have donated about $25 million, like 25.4 million. I think they raised like $9.7 million in the first 3 days, if I remember correctly. So, I mean, that's how serious Americans realize how bad our border security is. And the government's not going to get anything done. So we had to do it ourselves. And Brian said, I'll just do a GoFundMe. I mean, man, it takes a veteran. Well, it doesn't take a veteran, but that time it did. I mean, other people can do it too. And all the people that are supporting Brian, you're unbelievable. And I'm one of them. I'm not saying I'm unbelievable, but it makes me feel good to support Brian. All right. China is blaming the U.S. Army for releasing the virus. China is blaming. Now, remember, I was saying back in January, this day's coming because I have written 3 books on Chinese information war. 1, 2, 3. That one just came out 2 weeks ago. The red one just came out, right? And so, this book just came out about 2 weeks ago. My 3rd book on Chinese information war. I knew they would blame the United States, and they're going to blame Japan. Somehow they'll blame Japan and the United States. They always do. It's so incredibly predictable that they're going to blame the United States and Japan. It's just like it's such a safe bet that it's one of those bets that I would give like 100 to 1 odds, and sure enough, they're doing it. So let's boil this down and cut through the bullshit. So when they're blaming the United States Army for doing this, who are they blaming? Who's the commander-in-chief of the United States Army? For Americans who don't know, the commander-in-chief, or for others who don't know, I'm sure most Americans know, the commander-in-chief of the United States military is the president of the United States. So China is blaming the U.S. military for doing that, and the commander of the U.S. military is our president. So they're blaming President Trump for waging biological warfare on China, meaning the world, right? Which is complete and utter bullshit. We obviously had nothing to do with it, but they're blaming us. I want to see, first of all, I've been working hard for years for the total destruction of the Chinese Communist Party. While Brian and his team have been building the wall, I've been out on the other side of the wall, hitting it on that side. I mean, this is a group effort. We're all mobbed up, teamed up. We can take out the Chinese Communist Party, and I mean destruction, gone from the face of the earth. And this virus is the commie virus, the kamikaze, the divine wind. It's like the divine virus. Unfortunately, it's hitting all us at the same time. So it's going to clearly crash world markets. It's going to be epic. Right. So they're blaming basically the China, not basically, China. China is Xi. Xi is the dictator for life in China. China is Xi. China has blamed the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army is commanded by President Trump. Therefore, Xi has blamed Trump. Dictator Xi has blamed President Trump for waging biological warfare on China. He's overtly doing this, but they're doing it with, the United States Army released it. You know what? It's time to take them out. And this virus is probably going to do it anyway. But I would love to see President Trump get in their grill, get in Xi's grill, and just start calling it Xi's disease. This is what I've been calling it since, January. Xi's disease. This is Xi's disease. This is not COVID-19. This is not whatever they want to call it. This is Xi's disease. Wuhan virus, China plague, Xi's disease. Xi's disease is the one that clearly saw this come out of China. Clearly, 0 day was November 17th. That was the first patient that we know about, was 17th of November, right? And then on the 31st of December, actually a lady from my hometown in Winter Haven, Florida, was the first to notice it. Not first to notice it, but the first to really start bringing it out was actually a lady from my hometown, Winter Haven, Florida. That's pretty wild. And she didn't work for the CDC. There are people talking about cutting funding and Trump's cut the pandemic funding. I'm like, a lady from my hometown figured this out. And I was saying in January, she got it. She was on it on December 31st. Think about that. And I was on it in early January, probably because of her, but I didn't even know it. But I mean, we were starting to notice it. And then by mid to late January, that was when I was saying, stock up your food, stock up now. Get your water filters, start thinking about getting to your hard point, start thinking about, where you want to be if this thing goes the way it looks like it's going. Now we can clearly see the way it's going. It's going worst case. And so, yeah. So they're trying to blame Xi is trying to blame this on President Trump. It's obviously not President Trump's fault. It's obviously not the United States' fault, but that's what China always does. Usually they blame Japan first. This time they blame the United States first, but they'll work Japan in here somehow. Trust me. Write it down. Write down what I just said. Somehow they're going to blame Japan too. For sure. Although I have seen Xi lately trying to snooze and snuggle up to Japan. China's been trying to snuggle up to Japan, but somehow it'll get blamed on Japan too. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they'll figure it out. And I mean, they already have in small ways, but they'll do it in some big way. It's just that's their nature. So let's see here. But China, and I'm standing by my words. People keep asking me now. You said, in January, the China as we know it is dead since December of 2019, and they're like, well, it's not dead yet. I'm saying, listen, it is dead. It is the China that we knew. I'm absolutely standing behind those words. It's clear. The China that we knew is dead. It's still flopping around and got a slight pulse, but it's not coming back to life like it was. Whatever China comes out of this will not be the China that was in 2019. That China is dead. What comes out of it is unknown, but it will not be what it was. The economy, the Chinese economy, people are saying it's restarting. How's it going to restart? Think about it. So even if everybody goes back to their factories and this virus doesn't resurge, even if everybody starts producing again, who's going to buy it? when Europe is about to implode, right? And the United States will soon follow, in probably about Mayish, in about roughly May. The United States is going to April and May. All these things that I was saying back in January and early February are now coming to pass. Like, remember, I've been saying that's why, ground all of our flights, international and domestic. Close all schools. I've been saying that now. It seems like ancient times because every day now is so important. All of our get to where you want to be. I mean, if you're in Atlanta right now and you live in Los Angeles and you would rather be in Los Angeles, which I think is crazy, but if you would rather be let's put it more realistic. If you're in Los Angeles now, but you got a home in Wyoming, you know where you should be, right? Big sky country. And pantry should be full and people should be ready to hunker down for at least 4 months. This is no joke. This is real. You are at war. We are absolutely at war. And so I like what Patty just said here. Don't buy Chinese made, whatever it means, DUMV something. But anyway, yeah, but I like the general thought on that. By the way, speaking of which, I use Apple products and I'm in their ecosystem. I need another freaking Apple laptop. I don't want to buy Apple. For so many reasons. One is the China thing. But before I realized how deep China was, or Apple was into China, before I began my total war on Chinese Communist Party, not on Chinese people. I like Chinese people, but on the Chinese Communist Party, I had already gone into Apple many, many years ago. And so you get into this ecosystem, it's madness. Now, Apple has shut down all of their stores around the world, except for in China, which they appear to be reopening. Now, they had shut down all the Chinese stores. They're reopening those now, according to a report I read a few hours ago. And now they're shutting them down. Apparently, I guess the one here in Chiang Mai should be shut, which is, but like Karen says, Karen Johnson Brown, we all travel within the United States should be shut down. All of it. Shut the Amtrak trains down. Shut down. Only things that we should be moving at this point are vital travel, ambulances, police cars, fire trucks, people that really important. Give everybody a chance to harden up, one last chance. And the only way we're going to slow this thing down and at least try to take some of the timeline back from the virus is to take very draconian measures. I know people say, what are you talking about? This will crash the economy. Remember, back in January and February, people were saying that. And I kept saying, we can either do it partially on our schedule or we can do it all on the virus's schedule. Whose schedule do you want to be on? Look at Italy. Look at Iran digging mass graves, and still doing terrorism. That's Iran. And so, look, we either take control or it's going to take control of us. Obviously, a lot of people that come to, I called Wyoming big sky country and Ted says that's Montana. Sorry about that. What's Wyoming? I've been to both, man. I love those states. They're, really incredible states. Linda says Starbucks are open again in China and Apple opened again in China. There was reports I read some hours ago that Apple is now closed about 500 stores, I think, globally. Is that all they've got? I would have thought it was much more than that. I don't know if they're closing all their stores. But I read a report that they're closing all their stores and reopening the ones in China. Janet says San Francisco is on lockdown. Florida closed beaches for spring breakers. I'm working from home till further notice. Man, can you imagine you're graduating now and you want to go to spring break? That was fun times. But that's the way it goes, man. You're gonna just have to make it a dramatic adjustment to that. But listen, if your big problem in life is you can't go to Starbucks or you can't go to spring break, you got a pretty good life. Let's see. Let's continue. I'm going to answer a lot of questions, but I'm going to go through a few other things here. I'm in Thailand. I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is the north of Thailand. Thailand's probably going to get hit hard probably in about May. Thais are starting to wake up like Americans, finally starting to wake up because they now see their cases going up. I think yesterday was 143 or something cases, something like that. But as you know, so in about probably another 2 weeks, it'll be about probably 10 times that. And in one more month, it'll probably be about 100 times that. So probably in about one more month, Thailand will have, well over 100,000 cases. So the hospitals will be flooded here. And, obviously many of the stores will close. People have been sending me photos from all over the world with groceries, all the way from Norway to Australia, Bangkok, United States, all over, Hawaii, Germany, Italy, stores empty. But weirdly, here in Chiang Mai, northern Thailand, I've been to about 5 grocery stores in the last 2 days and about 3 or 4 in the last 24 hours or so. And they're completely stocked. I mean, everything's there. Like I go check the rice, like a ton of rice in the store. All the stuff is there, everything that you would want. I mean, Aka coffee and all. I got my coffee here and all sorts of, I buy Brian Kofage's coffee and I buy Aka as well. But Aka, because that's a long story. I'll tell you sometime. But the Brian Kofage though sells coffee actually. And so I drink his coffee as well. Yeah, I mean, Bellis is right. The USA is really behind the curve, and we're going to pay for it. I mean, we're doing this on the virus's schedule. Now we see all these dramatic closings in New York City and all across the country. So many now, I'm not even going to read them off because it doesn't make sense anymore. Remember, in the beginning, Tom Hanks has got the virus. And remember, I've been saying for well over a month, when one super famous person finally gets it, like the Prime Minister's wife up there in Canada, or Tom Hanks, it'll be more. And then when they start dying, when famous people start dying, people will totally wake up. But you'll see now, you still have a chance to stock up. Remember, supply lines are still open in the United States and a lot of Europe and here in Thailand. And up here in Chiang Mai, the grocery stores are still completely full. There's like not even much shopping going on. And completely all aisles stocked. Frozen foods, it's all there. All the meat, it's all there. But down in Bangkok, a lot of stores are emptying out. I don't know how it is out in Isan or Chiang Rai. I don't know how it is down in Phuket or any of those places. I have no idea. Or I mean, other than people send me photos. But in the Chiang Mai stores, I drove around yesterday and looked at some restaurants and just drove many miles to see what's going on. And many restaurants open, all the stores open. I didn't see anything closed. Now I know some of the Thai Air people are being given non-paid leave, and many others at banks similar. So let's see. Let me try to answer. Let me say a few more things. Mark says Seattle sucks. We have doctors coming down with it. Remember what I and others have been saying since January, like Steve Bannon, who's got an incredible show on this called War Room Pandemic. I've watched every single one of them, although one might be on just on that I didn't see, but I'll see it when I go offline. And also this British doctor. Oh yeah, I wanted to tell you about this British doctor. He gave some very important advice that everybody needs to see. And let me see if I can here go to his wait, here we go. That's a problem here. Well, he's got a page that's not popping up for some reason. Okay, his name is John Campbell, right? He's a British doctor, retired, right? And everybody's starting to listen to him. And but I've been listening to him for a while. He seems quite measured, and he's more polite than me because he's an English gentleman and I'm an American from Florida. So, but he's saying there are certain drugs, anti-inflammatory, non-steroidals that he absolutely would not take in the case of an infection from this virus, from Xi's disease, from the Wuhan virus, from the China plague. And this came also from the French health minister. His name is Olivier Véran. Anyway, he's a neurologist. But also the English doctor seconded it. He said, no, aspirin, no. naproxen, no Advil, no diclofenac. I don't even know what that is. I've never seen it. Or maybe I have seen it. I don't know what it is. And I know this is going to really upset a lot of soldiers and Marines and whatnot. No Motrin. I know you don't like to hear that. But if you get the virus and you get fever or whatever, both of those doctors have like strongly recommended no aspirin, no ibuprofen, no diclofenac, whatever it is. Nurses, doctors, help me out. No naproxen, no Advil, no Motrin, soldiers, Marines, no Motrin if you get the fever. Both of them said, like the English doctor said, it could bring more complications. And then finally, in his very understated way, the English doctor said on the end of his podcast, his name is John Campbell. John Campbell. Write it down. Look at his. He gives information that I don't give because he's a medical doctor. So he'll do it in that nice English medical doctor way. And he said, and one of the complications in his English understated way is death. So there you go. From the English doctor with, he says he's got over 40 years experience. And Glenn says, how about Tylenol? Okay. He talked about Tylenol, and I want you to go to his page and look it up. Go to YouTube and look up like Dr. John Campbell. And it's the one he just put up. It's like 9 minutes long because he said this one is so important. I'm just doing 9 minutes, or not, he didn't say 9 minutes. I'm just doing a short video on just this, like what not to take. And so he talks about Tylenol and he talks about some other things. But go to his, it's better if he explains it. He's a doctor and he's much like 100 times smarter on this than I am. And so best to listen to the doctors on that. Let's see. My superpower is cutting through bullshit and finding experts that know what they're talking about. And I judge him to be measured and knowledgeable. So he's passed my seal of approval. He said a couple times something that set me on the edge early. One was, he called it an exponential function. And I thought, and then he said it, I thought he misstated it. And then he said exponential function again. I was like, is he a real doctor? Because it's, it's exponential function, which I would think a doctor would know. But other than that, he's never piqued any of my, radar. He seems, I think he's legit is my feeling. And I haven't checked him out. I haven't looked up, did he really go to medical school? Cause I'm a very serious researcher, but you can't research everything. Of course, you can only pick your, but I think he's accurate. And I think let's put it this way. I watch him. So there you go. And Bellis is saying you're using, and look at Dr. Campbell's, Dr. John Campbell, the English doctor. Look at him on YouTube and look up vitamin D. He'll talk about, I've been talking about vitamin D too, but I've been, I've been doing that for years, but then he lays it out in more medical way than I do. So look at when Dr. Campbell talks about vitamin D, he did that recently. Look up that video, watch that one too. I would also click the bell on him, because he's going to give you information that is not going to come from me. And another good source that is not, you can tell I'm not doing this for money when I'm sending you off to other people's page, because Peak Prosperity, this guy named Chris Martinson, he also gives pieces of the puzzle that I'm not giving. And he's got his own way of doing it. He was a pathologist before. I don't know if he's as accurate on finance as he is on this virus and whatnot, but if he is, I think he's probably a good guy to take, because they give financial advice otherwise, but he lifted and shifted. Like me, I was focused on destroying Chinese Communist Party and helping the insurgency in Hong Kong, and then this virus came, and it's like, whoa, this is earth-changing event right here. It's the biggest. It's it's a whole herd of Godzillas coming in. So he shifted from finance. I shifted from insurgency. Bannon shifted from, what Bannon normally does. He went to pandemic roar. And Steve Bannon's another one, very important to listen to. War Room Pandemic. I watch all of them. Oh yeah, you're right, Keto. He's a nurse, not. I'm sorry, I said Dr. Dr. John Campbell, but he's got his PhD, and so I'm sorry that you're actually correct. I misstated. He is a doctor, but he's got his PhD. But anyway, just you can see what. But thank you, Keto, for the correction. That's an accurate correction. But Dr. John Campbell, look him up on YouTube. Click the bell. He's given information that I'm not giving, and so and I think he seems. Cavell, please drop his live link in here. Actually, I had set this up to give you his live link, and for some reason, it's not popping up. What in the world? Goodness. Oh, here we go. Maybe it'll pop up here. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Can you see it? Can you see him now? That's him. And yeah, no, Kay Brialt is right. He's a nurse, a PhD nurse. But here it is. Can you see his page here? Do you see his comment? Who recommended paracetamol? Wait a minute. You said, wait, put a link to that if on the World Health Organization recommendation. I don't trust them on anything when it comes to. I'm actually reluctant to put any WHO links at World Health Organization. I just don't trust them. I didn't make a comment about toilet paper, but you did, Wendy. Let's see. Exponential pertaining to or regulated by expediency. Anyway, Wendy Salter, quit drinking the seltzer. I work in a hospital. I don't know anything about that. Let's see. Keto Dancer, MedCram is also a good YouTube. This guy is an ER and ICU doctor. He's a bit, actually, I have watched some of his, but I haven't watched enough. So Keto, you're saying MedCram I should pay more attention to. This is all I do. 7 days a week. Like today I slept some hours because sleeping is very important for for enhancing your immunity, not to mention just making you feel good. And so this is all I do except for sleeping and normal daily functions that you have to do, like take a shower. But this is all I do is study what's happening. And Steve Bannon on War Room Pandemic, I like how he kind of goes into my world more because I look at the global picture a great deal. That's why I was, back in January saying look what this could mean, because, people who've watched my work for many years realize that I kind of, look at the world in different ways than most people look at it due to my strange experiences. Deo Priso Liber, brother. That's right. Thank you, Robert. And, it wasn't a coincidence that I was over in Hong Kong. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not finished with Hong Kong. I love Hong Kongers. This whole thing has made me look at Hong Kongers in a totally different light, like massive respect. Like 9/11 made me respect New Yorkers so much. I didn't get along with New Yorkers a lot before 9/11, but after that, I've really hugely respected the way that they responded to 9/11 with their incredible leadership and just incredible strength. Let's see. The French are serious scientists, but let's see. Let's get on to. Oh, by the way, Grant Lundberg, I want to thank you for your comment you sent on my Patreon page. Grant Lundberg, and I even printed it out. I might read it again sometime. He says, Grant Lundberg on my Patreon, he publicly commented, he moved 100% out of index stock funds to treasury bonds and cash in mid-February. So grateful I was tracking the Wuhan virus with you and Bannon. I figure I saved myself at least $100,000 in losses and can be a buyer after the pain. Dow Jones Industrial Average drops to pre-Trump levels. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And again, people who've been watching my work for years and have actually heeded it have probably made more than I have. That's for sure. Certainly what's been coming from China has been relatively obvious. Obviously, we can't read the future. We didn't know what this virus would do. It's unstudied. but it was looking bad. That's why I literally stopped what I was doing and shifted to virus in January. And I'm still tracking daily on Hong Kong issues. But this virus is just none of us have ever seen anything like this in our lives. Even if you were alive in World War II, this is really actually probably going to be significantly bigger. Can you see John Campbell's page here? I put it up. So it still has a picture of me on YouTube. It doesn't have his page. Wow. Anyway, a lot of people have put up his link, so I'll I don't know what's happening with that. Well, I don't know. Uh-oh. Do you see a horse on my page? You see the horse? All right. Rachel says fevers have a purpose. Yeah, and a lot of doctors will tell you that. Let's see. Picture is not you. Is there a horse up? All right. What are you seeing up there? Let me look on my own I'm sorry about this. Okay, you see the horse. That was a horse I rented in Nepal, actually. That pelican, big black one on his right-hand side, because I was at like 17,000 feet or something, and that big box on the horse is my books, because I used to have to carry books, and so I had that filled with books, and I couldn't carry them on my back, so I'd have to hire Sherpas and porters, and finally I got that horse, and now all you need is an iPad. Now all you need is an iPad and a solar charger. Anyway, let me try to find back to my main page. I'm sorry, but when I was up in Nepal, that's the horse I used to carry my books. That's my book horse. Some people have book ends. I have a book horse. Let's see. Entire screen back to here. Let me go back. Okay. I think I'm on the page now. I hope a lot of people have put the links to Dr. John Campbell. I recommend him, and he's more polite than me. He's English. All right. English think that we're savages, which, not exactly untrue. Let's see. Some of the headlines that were just out. France considers total coronavirus lockdown with army. Lovely. I'm sure that they will. Who didn't predict that? And I mean, seriously, that's why I keep saying, go to your hard point. Let me read that again. France considers total coronavirus lockdown with army. I can't say it more clearly. Go to your hard point. If you're in the United States, you need to get to where you feel comfortable. You need to get to the place where you can do the most good or the least harm to yourself and to others. You know what I mean? And so you need to be. I mean, if you've got a home out in Montana or Wyoming or the Arizona out in the desert, then if I were you, I'd get on out there with a lot of food and water, and the ability to filter your water. Catadine sent me an email today. They saw me talking about their product. I sent them a link. And they liked it. I was like, yeah, I've been telling everybody, buy your filters, man. These filters are important. I've used that filter since about 2002. Let's see. David Carter says, in 1776, the English wanted to take our guns. We shot them. That's right. And my at least two of my grandfathers, I think three, unclear on that still, were actually in the Revolutionary War. And hello, Bashir. And Bashir, my Afghan friend, well, he's American now. I don't know if he has citizenship yet, but he lives in America now with his family. Bashir Ahmad Siddiqui, how are you? I came yesterday to the U.S. through IAD. I was wondering when I saw there was no check. Or you just came back from Afghanistan or Dubai? You were in Dubai before I saw. Charlene says, what about Big Berkey? I wish I had one. I want to get a Berkey. I don't have a Berkey here. I was trying to get one. I want a Berkey and I want a skillet. And I need a better pressure cooker, but I think I can square that away. But I want a nice Berkey. Yeah, Berkey for sure. Get Berkey. Absolutely. Berkey water filters. I check. I'm maniacal when it comes to checking that I got the right stuff for survival when I'm out. Going into India or to the wars and that stuff. I I study like this little water filter. I put as much study into which water filter I got as some people put into which car they're going to buy. You know, they're like, should I get a Tesla or a Chevrolet or a bicycle, Cannondale? You know what I mean? I literally put as much research into that as a lot of people put into a car. And after looking at everything on the block and all my needs, and I was like, that's it. And it did me right. You know, and before I went to Poland and lived there in business, I did also maniacal research on that. And I was like, out of all the countries in the East Bloc, I think Poland is probably going to pull ahead. And it did, but it took years. I mean, but that took massive research. And I was just running around talking to bankers, talking to, big business people. And I was asking them, what do you think? Which country's, really going to break from the pack, and they would actually talk to me. I was much younger than me. They would talk to me and give me their opinions and their collective opinions and my somehow ability to sift through which ones I thought knew what they were talking about and did not. I went to Poland. Christine says she has a Royal Berkey. Yeah, Bella says, and another thing about ordering online, don't depend that there will be, delivery. I mean, if everything gets grounded, that could mean, even though they've got a lot of robots there in the Amazon places and all that, I mean, you might not be able to order from a lot of the online companies, maybe UPS or whoever, US Mail or whoever is not delivering, so, I mean, we're getting down to that. Luckily, I mean, as time goes on and more people get infected and survive it, they can then be our new army that go, like if I get infected now, which would actually kind of be ideal, if I get infected right now and I get over it, then I can get out there and get in the middle of everything, because I don't want to get infected during the peak, obviously. But all the people that get infected early and get over it and are like certified over it and have been blood tested that you seem to have some antibodies for it, that can be our new frontline people that can go out and do stuff that those of us who haven't been infected yet can't do. So think about that. The people that have already been infected and have overcome it, there needs to be some kind of certification, like this guy or this woman has had it already and they're over it. So now we can put them in doing all kinds of work, Of course, we have to listen to the scientists. Don't take it from me. I'm a writer. I'm not an infectious disease expert. Christine says she got hers in 5 days, the Berkey water filter. Berkeys are on back order, Julia says. Oh, Elizabeth Atwater Mean says she ordered a bottle of Gatorade powder and the order went through, but the delivery just keeps getting extended. I wonder if it's because of the Gatorade or if it's because of something else. Because, it's a food item in a sense. Let's see here. Okay, let me see here. Some of the other headlines, which can be kind of interesting for people who aren't scanning them, because there is value in looking at these. I know people are. I always say be careful of headlines, but there is value in doing a headline reconnaissance every morning around the world. Just a quick and realizing that there could be some, especially if it has to do with politics, like President Trump or Obama or whoever. It could be completely way off, but when you can see patterns though. Like France considers total coronavirus lockdown with army, and then Forbes, that's the Sun UK, and then Forbes is as coronavirus lockdown looms in France, French travel is, and then it cuts off, it's closed, and it cuts off there. France, and then France24.com. France reports biggest daily increase in coronavirus deaths. And then Swiss Info, we are at war. Yeah, I've been saying that since January. France imposes lockdown to combat virus. Financial Times, millions confined to homes after Spain and France impose. France has been like locking down neighborhoods. And you better believe this can happen in America like lickety split. It can start happening like tomorrow. Remember, the National Guard can be called out. A lot of things can happen at state and local level. Right? That's a huge difference between the United States and a lot of countries. Like if a health inspector, if the health department in like somebody's parish or county or city says we're closing something down, they have enormous power. So it doesn't have to come from the president. Our country can shut down by just, dominoes of health officials throughout the country going, well, sorry, we're closed the airport. We're closing we're closing our city. Nobody's traveling through our city, right? They can do that. And then if the mayor says, well, we're going to put the police out and stop traffic, the only way you're going to undo that would be at state level with like National Guard or something. And then the only way to undo that would be federal level. And so it takes too long. So, I mean, the bottom line is, I love the way the United States actually divides the power like that, because nobody has to wait for the president to say lock down. You can lock down your town. If you're a mayor of some town or you're a health official watching this, as you well know, you've got enormous power invested within your position. Hello in Florida, Kimberly. Let's see. I'll keep you posted for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Notice that last name, Eason. Same last name, my mother's last name, right? And because we are related. And my family came over in the 1600s, 1609, my mother's side, and man, came straight into epidemics and pandemics and bringing them over to the Indians, and not on purpose either. It was just a matter of showing up. A lot of people are like, they think xenophobia is not natural. Xenophobia is extremely natural, I believe, based on just life experience. Because if you're not xenophobic and you're a native Indian, then you die of smallpox or measles or something. Because from looking at old records, it looks like just showing up alone onto American shores back then probably killed tens of millions of Indians. Just showing up, just like coming off the boat, being there for a while, and even if everybody went back to Europe, it probably would have still wiped out tens of millions. It's unbelievable. Jana Thacker says nobody has to wait, but everyone. You mean wait for the president or the governor to say something? I tell you what, if I were a local health official in any town USA, I would be like, I'm using my full authority to shut down all restaurants. Schools are shut. Public restrooms all shut. Everything shut. If there's absolutely, I would lock down on my town with all the authority that I have. And then if I was overstepping my bounds, the courtrooms would have to figure that out. But I would close the courtrooms too. Yeah, that's what I said. What did the Supreme Court just do in the United States? I would shut down everything but the jailhouse and the fire department and the police and the hospitals. I wouldn't shut those down. So this is our doctors and nurses who get sick and then survive this are going to be worth their weight in gold soon. I mean, they're going to be really important. Christina says Berkey is not back ordered. You can buy them so many places, but through the manufacturer is fast available. I got to get one of those. I don't have one. I need to get one more shipment come over from the United States too. Oh, thank you, Alan. You are the best. I love that pat on the back. Maryland closed. Ryan Trainer says Maryland has closed everything but stores and gas stations and banks. And here, every time the gas gauge goes below 3/4 of a tank, it gets filled back up again. 3/4 is considered empty. That bad boy should be at 3/4 of a tank. You know what I'm saying? If that's important to you. Well, there's no way I would run for president, but you know what? I don't think I would run for office. I can do much more out of office. And what would I do in office? What would I run for? But I certainly wouldn't run for president. Let's see. Somebody, Kimmy Chan said, did you hear someone cracked a bottle of wine on somebody's head just fighting for water at Sam's Club? Oh, I could totally believe it. I could totally believe it. I grew up in America, man. I've lived all over America. That's why I'm saying keep your guns. It's like that's one reason I'm saying keep your guns. But and I'm not saying have a shootout in Walmart because of something like that. No, obviously not. But I mean, but what I'm saying is we have elements in the U.S. that are they're. Let's put it like this: they're not Japanese. They're not like peaceful and totally civilized elements. We've got some very uncivilized elements in the U.S. that will go to guns for like nothing. Italy reports 368 coronavirus deaths in 24 hours. Let's see. They're doubling still about every 5-ish days now. France says coronavirus situation is deteriorating very fast. Yep, because they kept their borders open too long. It's too late. I mean, you can still slow it down. It's not totally out of anybody's control, but the virus has complete initiative at this point. We had an opportunity to steal the march off the virus, but instead the virus, stole the march off of us. You know what I mean by steal a march? That's like a military term, right? But it's a very important kind of concept. Early bird gets the worm, but steal a march means basically while your enemy's sleeping or whatever, you go up on him. Like if you're combat tracking, man tracking, right? Like combat tracking, like you're gonna hunt down the enemy and kill him, right? Waking up very, very early in the morning is really, really helpful for many. And if if you're tracking an enemy, and especially if the enemy, or whether the enemy knows you're tracking them or not, but if you're a good tracker and the conditions are right, and if you wake up very much earlier than your enemy, because in that morning sun, first of all, it makes it very easy for tracking in a lot of conditions, depending on the situation. But the morning sun can make it very good for tracking. And if you're up and ready and already moving and tracking even in different ways already before the sun comes up, and then as the sun comes up, you're able to track a lot faster often because the light's really good for tracking. And if your enemy is still in the sleeping bag, you know what I'm saying? You'll kill him in the sleeping bag. So it can be called stealing a march. That's a small level of that. But basically it just means the virus, the zero case was November 17th, 2019. That's when the first case so far has been documented and known to us, right? And then China kind of hit it up through into December. And then a lady named Sharon in my hometown of Winter Haven, Florida, noticed it. And she put it on her blog called Flu Tracker, I think. Flu Tracker. I think it's called Flu Tracker. And I've looked at her blog. I think you can find it, Flu Tracker. And so she's noticed it. And somehow I started noticing it. And then that was when I was like, uh-oh. And then really shortly after that was when I started mentioning little things about it. And then certainly by mid and late January, I was like, ding, 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 ding. This is very serious. And so, but it kept stealing marches on everybody, like Europe completely asleep. And so many people unwilling to take drastic action. No, Barbara's asking, Thailand, no virus. No, big time. Yeah. Thailand's probably going to get smashed a little bit later than the United States, but it's coming right now. In fact, when I say a little bit later, I'm talking like a couple weeks. Because the doubling time is so fast, and you know how exponential functions work. They're not very far behind us, and I say there. I mean, Thailand's my second country. My friends and I'm totally, I'm very, very, very interested in the well-being of Thailand. You're not seeing a lot of Thais come on my pages now because they're all on their pages right now. Usually I have a huge amount of Thai viewers and readers. Like today I went out and some people actually recognized me. But they're not coming on my pages now because they're on Thai pages. They're all getting concerned, which is good. Deborah Crutchfeld, it's good to be a prepper. Yeah, me. That's right. They used to make fun of us. They ain't making fun now, are they, Deborah? And now, let's talk about prepping. Why isn't India affected? India's going to get smashed, Elisa said. Trust me. I got my vaccinations last year to go back to India, and I didn't go because the insurgency kicked off in Hong Kong. But let's talk about India in a minute in prepping. But here we go. Coronavirus. Thousands of armed forces staff could be put on. Actually, one of the top armed forces leaders in Thailand is now in quarantine. And I think 60 other officers, including a lot of commanders who are in contact with him, are now in quarantine. Think about that. Think about that for the Thai military. Think about that for the U.S. military, like our submarines and our ships. You know, somebody on an aircraft carrier already, maybe it may have been a soldier. I don't know if it was a soldier or a sailor, but it's going to spread. It's going to get all over our ships and aircraft carriers and submarines. And then what are we going to do? You know, keep them out at sea? No, then we'll have everybody infected. So, and then we pull our ships off the sea, and then guess who can play? Obviously, all the rogue nations like North Korea. The latest, Russian to bar entry to all foreigners. So there you go. I mean, it's just going all over the world. China's blaming the United States, which means Xi is blaming President Trump, which we obviously didn't do this. We clearly did not do this. We did not, President Trump or the United States military, or we did not do this. It's clear. Japanese will look at this and go, there they go again. Not America, but there goes China again. Because what will they do? They'll blame America and they'll blame Japan. Usually they blame Japan first. Trust me, I've studied Chinese information war for years. They're going to blame Japan eventually somehow too. But the flu trackers, the lady from Winter Haven, or in Winter Haven, my hometown, who first started sounding the horn on this on December 31st of 2019, her name is Sharon Sanders. And she's in Winter Haven, Florida, my town. And her website is Flu Trackers, FLU Trackers. And yeah, and so there we go. I'm going to be on the John Batchelor Show with Gordon Chang at 9:45 p.m. tonight. So that's about just 2 hours and 40 minutes from now or so. Make sure to tune into that John Batchelor Show. Bachelor as in unmarried bachelor. And let's see. And let's answer any questions here that I can very quickly, and then we'll go off. And because there's a lot of study. I still have to do studying before I come on the John Batchelor Show. Dana Dean says, I have a loved one who cannot find diapers in the store after I told the family over and over again to stock up. No problem. Go back and do it the way Grandma did it. Start washing diapers. You know what I mean? And use the sunshine to dry stuff. You know, and you can wash them in a tub. You don't need a washer. You just need a tub. Just go back and do it the way Grandma did it. You save money anyway. Plus, we won't fill up the landfills with Huggies. Mike Stoll says, I did not hear anything about being immune after getting over it. Where can I find that info? Now, there's not enough science on this yet to say that. And I'm not an infectious disease expert. I want to absolutely continue to say that. But the experts tend to believe that you probably will have some level of immunity after you have it. Because that's typically what happens. You'll have some level of immunity after you get it. It might last for a year or whatever. It might last longer, but might last for the rest of your life. But there also are different strains of it out there. Many stores are closing in the United States. For instance, Apple, Walmart is reducing their hours. Oh, it's a long list. Nike stores are closing. That's all right. When everything goes crazy, the thugs will go out and steal Nike shoes anyway. So if you haven't stocked up on ammunition yet, you're just crazy as a fish if you're American. Let's see. And so when the robbers come and they want to rob you, tell them to go to the left-wing people's houses because they're unarmed. And so, let's get this all straight. Let's get this worked out. You know what I'm saying? It's like put a sign up on your house that says heavily armed, will shoot. But that guy over there is left-wing and he's not got any guns. I'm just kind of joking. Let's see. I don't want to get banned from all these things for joking like that. But right. So Wuhan lockdown didn't happen until January 23rd, even though the patient zero was found on November 17th. So that was over 60 days that China let this thing steal multiple launches and then marches. And so let's try to answer any questions here real quickie. Sikon Vuz, well, I was sitting at a AAA today trying to get my trailer registered. There was a guy who worked at State Brothers there. And no, they're all gone. But I'm over 60, and another one gal was talking to him. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay, let's see. I'm looking for what's with the bird flu cases being reported in India and the calling according to the Independent. Hey, actually, that's important, Angela. I'm glad that you brought that up. Because just because this disease is doing what it's doing, it doesn't mean it's the only potential one out there. And also, even as this kicked off, another one did kick off in China, which was so they started calling a lot of chickens. And remember, before that was the swine flu, and before that, army worms. I don't think the army worms would affect us other than hitting their food supply, but. But yeah, I mean, this is not these diseases won't necessarily wait in line to come get us one at a time. They might well gang up. David Savage, do we know for a fact it was not originally from a Chinese lab, or is it still a possibility? It's a possibility. It's a possibility. I don't know. It's a strange possibility that it did come from Wuhan, where their lab is, and so yeah, I mean, or it could have come from the wet market, because remember, infectious disease experts who study this stuff have said for years that viruses like this are apt to come from wet markets, and in particular Chinese wet markets. So they've warned about this long before this happened. They've warned that because of the conditions in these wet markets, and they all sound crazy when they say it, because they're always like, don't you understand, keeping the civets with that sort of bird right there could lead to cause your reactor to blow up, and the virus will wipe out the earth. You know what I mean? It sounds crazy, right? But it's not crazy. It just sounds crazy. Like the idea of, satellite collisions causing a cascade of other collisions that then take out all of our satellites. This could actually happen. It's, the mathematicians and the orbital dynamics specialists will tell you, yeah, we could have a cascade of couple of spacecraft collide, and then boom, the shower goes out in critical orbits, and next thing you know, there's so much debris it just starts cascading and takes out all of our everything, over time. And likewise with getting struck by an asteroid. It sounds like way kooky stuff. It's not ever going to happen. Well, there's actually quite a real chance it could happen. And then, just imagine it could be 2 years from now. And we're like, and now, just as we're getting over the virus, scientists have spotted a giant asteroid the size of Arizona coming at us, right? And we don't have any way to stop it. Rebecca Means, I stocked up 3 weeks ago. May need to reload. I think you need to stock up for at least 4 months. At least 4 months, especially if you're older. At least 4 months. Because of the way, that's the way the math is looking. So I've always said absolute minimum 1 month. Absolute minimum 1 month. And it depends on your circumstance too. I mean, if you're living out in an Amish farm or something, you might not need to stock up at all, because you got a basement full of stuff in Ohio and you got milk cows running around and you're good to go, right? And but if you're, living in an apartment in Manhattan or something like that, you better stock up or get out of there. It can be pretty tough to get food in places like that for various reasons. Neha, we should go back to the grandma way of taking care of our hygiene, like using water to wash yourself after finished personal business and wash diapers. That way we save the trees and environment. I believe that. Stop, for not everybody can do it, because a lot of people live in condos and that sort of thing, but a lot of people can. Yeah, Barbara, I mean, we should Barbara Summy is saying, stop all flights in USA from state to state. We should stop all interstate travel in the United States. And that means interstate travel by car and everything. And it should be even at county and city level. I mean, we need to lock down. We need to go totally. I know people are like, that's an un-American thing to say. I'm saying, look, if we don't get over it now, if we don't face this bad boy, those zombie movies didn't come from nowhere. Our economy is going to have very difficult problems. And I'm even thinking about going home to the United States now, but I have to resist because I want to take care of people here first. This is my hard point, but I could make a new hard point quickly. I'm Michael.Yon. I can go live in the desert. I got no problems. I've spent years out in crazy places living. I got no problem. But after this is over, after we've gotten over, or maybe I've gotten, then what I'm very concerned about is what is not, well, the virus is a big deal. But after the virus, it's creating other big deals that can be much, much bigger, that could cause civil unrest within the United States. And if that happens, I got to go home. If we have civil unrest in the United States, I got to go home because that's, vital to be home if that happens in the United States. Because the United States is still, despite that I've lived out of the United States for most of my life, when I think of home, I think of the United States. I think of Florida in particular. But I'm still, home is still, for me, America. And I don't think that'll ever change. Kevin Wilkinson said, your predictions have all come to pass. Any advice on how to survive the aftermath? We're almost in lockdown here in Ireland. I don't know your situation, your particular personal situation in Ireland, or the situation, or Ireland's situation. If you live near the coast, which if you're in Ireland, you probably do, hopefully fish won't be a problem. But I would definitely have at least 4 months supply on hand. I saw President Trump say something about people were going out and buying 3 to 4, and he encouraged people to reduce their buying or whatever. And he said, I thought I would never say something like this, which was kind of funny actually in light of what's going on. Because he's, a capitalist, of course. And I'm not saying that with an insult. I'm saying that with that's what I prefer. But he's saying people are buying like 3 to 4 times what they need. Remember, a huge amount of people, like here in Thailand, they only buy very little food. A lot of Thais don't have much food stocked up because they go to little local restaurants. Not everybody does. A lot of people cook at home too, but they don't keep a lot of food on stock, right? Because food is very plentiful in Thailand. Food in Thailand is like plentiful like food in America. And this is the land of plenty. You don't see starving Thai people any more than you see starving Americans, right? But we can have situations where then the supplies get interrupted. And so I would have, especially if you're older and you can afford it, at least 4 months supply on hand. Now, when President Trump was saying, what did he say? That they're buying 3 to 4 times more than, what did he say? I don't remember. But it was something like that, 4 or 5 times more than they usually buy, which is probably like a whole basket full, as opposed to, which is still not that much. But remember, our grocery store and infrastructure is set up for our culture and the way that people buy, right? The way that most people buy is, if you go to a grocery store when there's not something like this going on, how many people do you see getting like 2 big grocery carts full? You know what I mean? It's not normal. Certainly not normal in Thailand. It's normal for me because if I'm going to go to the store, even if there's no crisis, I don't like to go to the store very much. I'm a man, you know what I mean? I don't like to shop, and some men like to shop, but not my species. And so when I go, I'm like, I'm getting it all for a long period of time. So it's normal for me to go through with 2 carts, no matter what's going on, no crisis at all. But now remember, our supply lines are still open in the United States. They're stressed, but they're still wide open. make sure to stock up now, and because they're still being replenished, but very soon, week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, tomorrow, they're going to start going down. Listen, look at my predictions, how amazingly accurate they are year after year after year, because I'm very cautious with what I say. I research it first. Okay, Joe and I have canned bacon that I do in quart jars. Each jar has a pound of bacon. All right, good to go. Pound of bacon. I hope you have a whole lot of that. I actually went and got some bacon recently, just because I'm from the South, and you know how it is. If you want to make something taste good, whatever it is, throw some bacon in it. I mean, Southerners use bacon so much, we like cook bacon with bacon to make the bacon taste better. Let's see what Ginger has to say. Ginger is always on target. Let's see what she says. Hi, Michael. Colorado's Governor Polis is giving a live update now. Here today, there are 166 positive COVID. I don't like that name, COVID, Ginger. I'll just call it G's disease cases. Our state is trying to flatten that curve. 50 RNs from Freedom Healthcare Company have arrived to help. Governor Polis says the Colorado High Country. I'm having a hard time seeing this for some reason. Of Eagle Summit, Pitkin, and Gunnison are at extreme risk for the spread of the virus, with likely thousands testing positive soon. All Colorado ski resorts operations are currently closed to minimize risk. If I heard him correctly, Polis said, we're where Italy was 2 weeks ago. Meanwhile, our cardiothoracic ICU RN daughter, who works in Denver area, said their university hospital system is asking RNs to work overtime at premium wages. They're doing what they can. They are weary. And Ginger is somebody that knows what she's talking about. Her husband's a surgeon. She's a nurse. Her daughter's a nurse. They actually come over to Vietnam every year to help people. And they do it from the church. You know what I'm saying? You know what I keep saying? Missionaries do all this stuff. You won't believe how much they do. I don't know if Ginger's actually a missionary. I don't think you're a missionary. But she does this sort of stuff that I say that they do. Just fly around, go help somebody, do free surgery and stuff. They're unbelievable. And she's incredibly credible and a great photographer. And let's see, Hector Dunas. Unfortunately, Chinese have a long tradition of holistic medicine. Sure, drinking ginseng and other herbs are okay in the grand scheme of things, but the carnivore aspect of this rhino horn for virility, who knows what else is what got into us into this mess. I am Catholic, but the Jewish and halal eating rules make a lot of sense now in hindsight. Yeah, that's from Hector Duenas. Bye, Tony. I hope everything's good. Yeah. Okay. Sonia Alexander says, I can last 6 months with the food I have now. Ammo, 1 year. How much ammo you need for 1 year? That depends on your situation. It might mean 0 bullets, or it might mean, you need ammo cans full. Let's see. Angela Holloway, do I really think the supply chain will totally break down for domestic items? I would put it at higher than coin toss. That there'll be breakdowns, at least in parts of the United States. I would say significant chance, higher than 50% chance. That there'll be breakdowns in some places, I would say 99% chance. Breakdown across the United States all at once, probably very low chance of that all at once. But breakdown if you live in some place like New York or high population density, Los Angeles, which could have all kinds of other problems that are not have anything to do with the virus directly. Like if too many cops are sick, then the wild elements are out, and the criminality could go through the roof, and stores ain't not going to open. And would you drive down? You saw what happened to Reginald Kenny, the truck driver. He got his skull beat in, rioters pulled him out of a truck and beat him down. Nobody's going to bring truck into neighborhoods. Nobody's going to bring food into neighborhoods like that. I wouldn't. No way, man. There's no way. I would be like, whatever. It's a war zone. I'm not going into it to deliver food when the people I'm delivering it to might kill me. It's just, that's just the way I think. Let's see. But yeah, I do think the chance of breakdowns throughout the United States and Europe are significant. That some will occur, I would say, is almost 100% chance. That all will happen at once, I would say very low chance. But that there will be significant interruptions in the United States, I would say is a very high chance. But again, there's too many. We have a lot of states with a lot of different situations, and we have a lot of rail transport that can bring a lot of supplies. But you limited breakdowns, I would count on it. It depends on where you are and what's going on with you. I mean, if you live around a bunch of farmers and that sort of thing, Hey, Gary Carsey says, I love your stream of thought broadcast, but you have got to let Random speak. I like her voice. I was on Random Yoko's page. I should have let her talk more. I thought she wanted me to talk about stuff. And later on, I was like, you know what? I should have let I was on my friend Random Yoko up in Japan. I wish she and her husband would travel around America, and because she's super smart and her husband is too. And her English is quite good. His is not, but it would be great for them to travel, but not now. I've been telling them for a long time they should travel. Sonia says she's a woman and she hates to shop. Let's see. Greece. Hello in Greece. Greece. I imagine it could get rough there, especially for many reasons. Like so many quote unquote immigrants. Is that still a big problem for you in Greece? Barbara Summy says, New York governor sure changing his mind about things. He needs sanctuary cities. I hear you. I'm the oldest of 8 and enjoyed hanging in the pure cotton cloth diapers on the clothesline in the summertime. And also your clothes they're more comfortable I think they smell better and they just feel better. Isn't it weird? I mean, is it psychological or what? I really think like bed sheets and all that are much better if I got a cord on my leg. If they're sun dried and like shirts and all that. Let's see what Linda's saying. Hello, I'm from Lurgan, Colorado, or something. Lurgan County. Okay, whatever, someplace. I'm 67, but going to self-isolate. Sure, hope everyone is taking necessary precautions. God bless. Yeah, I hope everything's well there, and it will be if you stay in. Make sure everybody's got candles. That's why I got this one candle burning. I don't even know if you can see it, but I got a candle burning back there to remind people to get candles, get lights, just in case your electricity goes out. And the chance of your electricity going out is actually significant. And supply line interruptions, the chances are very significant. But another thing, too, on getting a lot of supplies means you don't have to go out as much. And if you're in a place of high criminality, that's a big deal. Or low inventories, so many reasons not to go out. Infection, don't want to get infected. So many reasons to become one with reading books and that sort of thing now. Yeah, I mean, we could certainly have supply. I mean, if you're living out with Amish or Quakers or something like that, or you're living out in, South Georgia with a bunch of farmers, you're going to be fine. It's like, but if you're living out, in some place where it's a high population density with a lot of criminal activity, I would suggest leaving. Rachel, clotheslines and birds. Dory says, do you think utilities will be disrupted? Wondering from Northwest Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah. I mean, will they? I don't know. I would think that in some places will have interruptions, I would say is 99% chance. that that the whole grid in the United States is going to go down. Probably not. But but limited water outages here and there, I would say, is very high chance, because there's many things that can lead to that. For instance, just people unable to go to work, people unable to. What's going to happen also? What's going to happen now with the banks and that sort of thing? What's going to happen with our financial institutions? Will there be bank runs? Will there be just a total melt? What's the IRS going to do when all of a sudden the tax base is so low and people are like, I'm not even going to pay my taxes, right? What if millions of people just say, collectively, we're not paying taxes? What if millions of people do that? That grinds our federal government to a halt. That's kind of, that's like epically bad, but that could actually happen. And it's not like far out of an idea that it could happen. And especially when millions of people realize, hey, they can't enforce against millions of people, right? They're going to have to make a deal. They're going to have to, these situations now are the kind of things that people like us, my sort of people, have thought about for years. And some of them relish the idea of this happening and the federal government collapsing. I don't want to see the federal government collapse, because I have some idea what could come out of that, and it's not pretty. It's my imagination on that is an ugly imagination. But certainly trimming it down could be nice. Hello in Jupiter. I have a good friend that lives in Jupiter, Florida. Jupiter's a nice place. Southwest Missouri here, Kimberly H. Small town of 945, lots of Amish here, but also lots of people who work in Kansas City here as well. So we're not exactly safe. Yeah. Oh, if you mean safe from criminality or safe from the virus, you can pretty much count that every part of the country is going to get the virus, unless you're living in a cave in Tennessee. You know what I mean? You're going to get not necessarily going to get the virus yourself, but you can pretty much count on every town is going to get it. It's hard to imagine that every town in the United States is not going to get it sooner or later. Bellis Chuck, I just talked to a mine inspector. He said the mine that supplies coal to power plant is closing. Expect no power. See, I hope that's not true. But that's the sort of ripple effect that we're talking about. Now imagine the ripple effect. Ripple effect. Coal mine closes. Energy plant closes. Electricity closes. All business closes. Post office closes. UPS, federal. It could all just be local stuff too. It could be your local post office closes, or your local whatever's closed. Hello in Hong Kong. I miss y'all, but the nasty communists kicked me out. But don't worry, I'm still in the fight. Obviously, U.S. and a lot of other countries have a pretty big monster to deal with right now. So we'll circle back to killing the Chinese Communist Party in due course. Put that on hold. We're coming back to that. Alan Crowell, do you think the media has blowing this way out of proportion, or people? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you think the media is blowing this out of proportion, or have people recovered from it, and many have died from it? I don't think the media is blowing. I don't know what all the media is saying. I'm not reading all the reports, so I can't say I don't know if they are or not. But I can say that since January, people have been telling I am blowing it out of proportion, and now it's happening. And now it's happening pretty much worst case scenario at this point, as I've imagined so far. It's looking actually like worst case, which is, everybody wants to be right, of course. Do I want to be right? Of course, because that's that psychological thing. But do I want to be right about this? I would love to be incredibly wrong, but unfortunately right now it's coming out to be right. And that is, looking at my security cameras, and that is unfortunate. Hello in Central Pennsylvania. We count on your insightful commentary. Thank you very much, Frosty 5800, and I hope that you've totally stocked up. And on all the non-perishables. Remember, your canned goods, don't pay attention to all those stamps on the bottom of them that says it dies in 6 months. If it's like tuna fish, I mean, send it to me if you don't want it. Let's see. Don't throw away stuff just because it says it's out of date. Unless it's medicine, then you might want to check. Wyoming, he wasn't. Yeah, Cindy says a lot of military bases are under quarantine procedure. They should have done it a long time ago. They should have done it in January. They should have total lockdown. And remember, I've been saying that since then. Hello, Mark Jing from Bangkok. I think now it's the virus rapidly growing in Thailand and Bangkok. So sad. Oh, yeah. As I've been warning my Thai friends, it's becoming easier to warn them because it's becoming more obvious now. But again, I've been going to big grocery stores here in Chiang Mai, and they're still wide open, no lines, completely stocked. There was a whole lot of buy one, get one free at one of the grocery stores yesterday. Good stuff. I loaded up and got it because it was buy one, get one free. I don't even need it. I was like, this is long shelf life. It's buy one, get one free. It's 50% off. I can't believe they're selling buy one, get one free stuff right now on the edge of their grocery stores, probably about to get all cleaned out. You know what I mean? It could be like today, the grocery store gets cleaned out and they got all this buy one, get one free. So I saw buy one, get one free stuff. So I was like, I'm taking that. Hey, Sean from Central Florida. Thanks for everything. Outside of food and water, what are the key essentials we need? Seeing we probably need water purifier as well. Much appreciated. All the pharmaceuticals that you need, of course. And since you're in Central Florida, water is not going to be a problem. If you know how to hunt, that's not going to be a problem. Food's not going to be a problem if you know how to hunt. I would get certainly all the medicines that you need. If you're in Florida, there's so much water. That's so great. But also be ready for hurricane season. And remember, I would have at least 4 months supply of food. I always say absolute minimum 1 month. But that's like, to me, if I get down, I only got 1 month left, I'm like, uh-oh. To me, that's like the gas tank is like almost got the red light on. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think one month should always be your basic inventory, period, no matter what. And remember, it's easy to get into that state of having that much inventory by just always doing what I do. Hey, there's buy one, get one free of something that I would actually like to eat. And just buy a bunch of them. It's buy one, get one free, right? And if you do that over a long period of time, next thing you know, you got all this, you did it at half price, man. And you know what I mean? And so that's one way of doing it. But right now, obviously we're down to the wire. And so if you haven't stocked up yet, I'm turning off that aircon. But certainly, be ready for hurricane season. And you know all the things you need in Florida for hurricane season, whether it's, I don't know your personal situation. You might live in some really strong condominium or something, or you might live in a house next to a river. Bella says, thank you. Thanks for recognizing that, Bella's Chuck, that I've been 100% correct, because it's important because I'm going to continue to say stuff that sounds crazy. And only if you've known me for a long period of time, you'll go, okay, but we actually can't find where he's ever been wrong on the big stuff. You know, because only when I talk this confidently, that's your signal that I'm highly confident and I'm actually staking my reputation on it. And I'm afraid. There's one, you know, I went cannibal hunting and I went years in combat. But what I'm afraid of is being like writing something incorrect, especially in a book, you know what I mean? Or an article and I'm more likely to accidentally say something incorrect when I'm talking very quickly like this. But if I do, I'll correct it very quickly. But I try to keep that to an absolute bare minimum. But before I come on and repeatedly say China as you know it is dead, and I've been saying that since January. Go back and look. I have thought that through and been studying quite a lot before, you know, I've been watching China for years. And then finally this happens and I'm like, okay, that's it. This is a kill shot. China's not going to die, of course. But the China that we know in this big, powerful position that it's in, it's not going to be that same China anymore. because even if they get all their there's so many things. There's a whole constellation of things that have just come to pass on China. Especially one of the worst things that's happened to China. There's two really terrible things that have happened to China in recent years. One is President Trump got elected, and then President Trump started encouraging our manufacturers to come back. And we're lucky he started that in advance. We haven't had time to do it, but I mean, it's just there wasn't time. But at least something started to happen. So there was some momentum. And then, so President Trump was like the worst thing that happened to the Chinese Communist Party since, I don't know, Mao. And then the virus. And so it's like Trump and the virus collectively, that's a kill shot on China. And actually, I think Trump, without the virus, eventually would have killed CCP. But it wouldn't be so obvious. It would be because of it would be manufacturers moving out. But right now, more than 80% of American and European and Thai and other pharmaceuticals are made in places like China, right? And the APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients and whatnot, are made in China. So they can literally cut off our pharmaceuticals. And my guess is they will cut off our pharmaceuticals. They will probably cut off our pharmaceuticals as some sort of leverage. And what are you willing to do if they cut off our pharmaceuticals? And they can do it. And whose fault is that? It's our fault. It's our fault that we put ourselves into that position. It's our fault, but that's not the immediate problem. The immediate problem is if they cut off our pharmaceuticals. I mean, I'm good. I don't need drugs. I don't use any drugs. So I don't need anything at all. I need my water. And I can even do without coffee if I have to. But a lot of our families and friends need drugs, huge amounts. And some of our families and friends are going to die without drugs. We all know that. And so what are we willing to do if they start using drugs, if they withhold our drugs? What are we willing to do? What are you willing to do? What if China withholds our drugs? What if they just say, all right, we want you to drop all your tariffs and do everything else and start, here, give us all the wheat in Kansas. You know what I mean? Or we'll just withhold your drugs. What are you willing to do? If they play hardball, if they go total maniacal on us. And remember, this is where some of my expertise can come in right now. I should have said this earlier. It just is coming to my mind now. Remember, I've written 3 books on Chinese information war. I've been talking about it. So there's a reason I ended up in that insurgency in Hong Kong, and that I don't go to almost any insurgency in the world. I go to a few, and I go to the important ones, and that one's incredibly important. That's my latest book on Chinese information warfare. Unfortunately, it's only in Japanese language. And you can buy it on Amazon.jp. It's an ebook as well. Please do, and gift it to your Japanese friends. I need the money, and you need the information. Right now, they're building hatred against the United States. This is important. Listen to what I'm saying. They're building hatred against the United States by saying that the United States unleashed this virus on China. Why would they be unleashing hatred on the United States? Because they want to do bad things to us. That's how they justify to their otherwise good people stealing from us. That's how they justify coming to the United States for year after year, spying on everything, stealing all of our intellectual property, and just doing every criminal act in the book. They justify that against us and the Japanese by making a huge amount of the Chinese hate us or distrust us or feel like we owe them something. That's how they do it. They talk about the opium wars that happened, 10,000 years ago, and they don't ever talk about the fentanyl that they flood on our streets, right? They're huge drug dealers. China is. What are you willing to do if they cut off our pharmaceuticals? And they could do it. They could do it next week. They could do it right now. They could do it 10 minutes. All they got to do is say no more pharmaceuticals to the United States. Unless you drop all tariffs, unless you just start giving us some free wheat. We'll swap wheat for free for pharmaceuticals at the normal price. How's that? What are you going to do? Yeah, because they might say because if they see civil unrest in the United States, that they may try to take advantage of it. And remember, our problem set is growing exponentially. Saudi Arabia and Russia are having a price war right now, which is hitting our fracking in Texas, right? I mean, there's all kinds of other things going on that are big. Even if there was nothing else going on, if this virus were not going on in the world right now, and the pharmaceutical thing I just mentioned weren't on the table, and all these other things, that thing that just happened between Saudi Arabia and Russia is big. That would be headline news. I mean, that is really big. It affects the United States in a strategic way. And so we're not even talking about that. That's like another asteroid. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's not a total. It's certainly not as bad as the other things. I mean, certainly our fuel prices are going down, but they could bankrupt our fracking. And so I'm concerned about that, because I want our energy to come from our people. I want when I go back to America, when I buy a tank of gas or when I buy energy, I want to feel like I'm buying it from Americans. You know what I mean? So that we have energy security. I want energy security. That's important. Let's see what is Barry Jen saying. Hey Mike, always to hear from you. I'm prepared and sharing and telling everyone over here in Alberta, Canada, since the day this has all started, and it's thanks to good people like you, most of us best prepared as we can be. It is just that by the day, it is getting so much sad, and for many really scary, especially now, Italy overwhelmed by Wuhan 2, CV2. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're up in Alberta. I've been up there. I drove all the way to Yellowknife one time in Northwest Territories. There's a lot of meat on the hoof out there. I mean, and you guys can have rifles and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of meat on the hoof if you need protein, and you guys got so many lakes, man. You got so much good water up there and fish, and you got everything, man. But of course you have some pretty tough winters. Yeah. And Rita Holland Moore is talking about symptoms. Make sure you have thermometers. Every home should have a thermometer. I got this mercury one, but I've also got an electronic one. And write down your baseline temperature, so that if you start to get a fever, because remember, if you got a fever and a dry cough together, that's a symptom of the G's disease, right? So those within the same 24 hours, fever and a dry cough, those are some of the symptoms. And so start, if you've already got a baseline of your temperature, and then you're writing it down every hour, so you can call or email, message your doctor and tell her what's up. And she might say, oh, it's good to go, or she might say, oh, okay, whatever, come down, or I'll come down there, or whatever. So make sure you got a thermometer, especially got children around, that sort of thing. Let's see. The best way to find my book on Amazon is just go to amazon.jp and type in my name in English. You can do it in English. You can type in my name in English. And that's my latest that came out about 2 weeks ago. That's my third book on Chinese information warfare. And you'll often see them. Americans often don't notice that information war for various reasons. And one is because everybody's busy. And secondly, when they're targeting Japanese, Americans don't pay attention to it, because why would they? Because it's between China and Japan, right? But a lot of Americans don't realize and I've explained this many times. At some point we got to do our specific shows on the Chinese information war that targets Japan, because in reality they're targeting Japan, but they're also targeting United States at the same time. And I can explain it in detail, and then after I explain it to you, you'll start to see it. You'll actually start. A lot of people like the comfort women issue. When I first started bringing that up about 5 or 6 years ago, a lot of people were like, that sounds crazy, And but now you'll see people often leave comments. They're like, wow, I finally see it's actually, I see what you're saying. When I first saw you saying that, it sounded so crazy, but now actually I see it. It takes a while. Once I lay out the fact pattern, and then at first, you might push back and go, no, that goes against what I knew. And then over the months and the years, you'll start to go, oh, there's that Confucius Institute that Mike talked about. There's that Huawei. There's this the other people getting caught spying and that sort of thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hello in Cypress, Texas. Yeah, have a family plan if one of your, a lot of people are saying that children and young people aren't getting sick, but actually they are, but not as much as the older people. It seems like, from what I'm gathering, the latest is that, of course, age, that's been kind of clear for a while, according to the doctors and the researchers. But also obesity may be a factor in who goes down from this, and other comorbidities, one of which would be obesity. Barry Jen, Canada only closed some borders. It was still wide open for the USA. In Canada, you guys got a strategic maple syrup reserve. Did you know that? Did you know you got a strategic maple, like other countries, like we got a strategic oil reserve. Canada's got a strategic maple syrup reserve. When one of my friends told me that, is an Army officer, Al Johnson, he told me that. I was like, are you kidding me, man? Because he jokes sometimes. And he's an EOD guy. EODs, they're not supposed to joke about serious stuff, but they're EOD. They got kind of weird sense of humor. If you know any EOD people, you know exactly what I mean. If you think Marines have a weird sense of humor, you ain't never met an EOD person. But anyway, so he told me that they have a strategic maple syrup reserve in Canada, and I started studying up on it, and it's like, sure enough, not only does Canada have a strategic maple syrup reserve, but somebody did a big heist there one time. They stole a huge amount of their maple syrup. Yeah, please do like and share my stream. And okay, Canadian. I've got one bottle of Canadian maple syrup here. It's expensive. I don't like buying expensive food because there's so much really not expensive food that's just even better. But I have one bottle of maple syrup Canadian just because it would just remind me of Canada if I ever, if I ever want to just remember some things, I'll eat some of that maple syrup. Uh, Hello, Mark. China's number China's number have been wrong since they start. Oh, China's numbers, yeah, on the virus, certainly. USA has Barbara says USA has some secret stashes of everything. Did you know that? No, no, we just got a wake up call on that. Where's our masks? Infectious disease experts have been warning us since before any of us were born. Nobody alive was born before they were warning us that this is coming again. I mean, we've had not just decades, but we've had generations and generations to prepare, and we don't have masks. That's a great failure of the United States. Use the maple syrup to gain entry to Canada at the border. It'll be like one of those secret handshakes, like, I've got maple syrup. They'll let you in. I love Canada, and Canadians are great, except when they're talking bad about America, and then they can piss off. Let's see. But otherwise, I really like Canadians. They're some of my favorite people. Let's see. Food security important. Food security is very important. But I'm looking for any comments on the medicines. If China cuts off our medicines, I just want you to think about that too, because it needs to be in the back of your mind. I've been saying it for, I don't know, well over a month now, that they make most of our medicines, and you need to get them. You need to get whatever pharmaceuticals you can get them now. That are, if it's important for your life or your health, get them now. It's not a joke. You don't have time to waste. Any time that you had to waste is already wasted, and we're down to the wire. In fact, it may be too late. You'll just have to try and see if you can get it. Remember when I was warning in January about getting masks, And there were so many masks out there. People are like, "There's masks everywhere. Why are you warning about them?" I'm like, "Because I'm warning about them because they won't be there soon." You know. And actually, it's much better to actually start stressing the system way back then, which was signal to the supplier. We only make 7% of our masks in the United States. But if everybody had bought out all the masks in January, that would have been an immediate signal to 24 hours a day, go into production. It would have been a huge signal right then. It would have been much smarter to do a quick buy and just empty the shelves. It would have been a wake up to start producing more masks way back then. As many as we could. A nurse, I think a lot of nurses and doctors, we need to support our frontline soldiers now, are our nurses, our doctors, EMTs, other medical professionals. We need to operate the hospitals, or not necessarily medical professionals, but hospital people that work in the hospitals, the people that maintain the machines in the hospitals, the people that we need to keep those ventilators working, that sort of stuff. Law enforcement, people that keep our electrical grids going, people that keep the coal going, people that keep the telephones going. Everybody's all frontline soldiers now, right? People that drive the trucks to get the food to Publix and Kroger and Walmart. These are now frontline soldiers. And so everybody, if everybody helps one person, then our lives will be so much better. Just help one person. If everybody helps one person, our lives will be so much better. Just help one person. Everybody help one single person. Kate was saying, I was able to get 90-day supply of all my meds, but I'm already starting to ration. Yeah. And also, I would retop it off at every opportunity. Like me, the gas doesn't go below 3/4 of a tank now. It does not go to half tank. It's 3/4 of a tank is empty tank. Fill it back up. And there may not be any gas shortages, but I would count my life as if they're going to. Let's see here. What kinds of medicine should we get every time Neha is asking, every time we want chronic meds, we have to go to the doctors to get prescriptions. What is your recommendation? It depends on your family and your own personal, situation. But I would certainly ask all of your family and friends, is there anything that you need? Because think about it now. Scott Wolf said Amazon is hiring 100,000. 100,000 people now? Hiring 100,000? Could be that's my alarm to get ready to do the John Batchelor show. It's still 8 o'clock. Still got an hour and 45 minutes. But I alert myself early, so if there's any last minute study and that sort of thing. Deanna Gruschow is saying, I'm on my medication for irregular heartbeat. I've already been cutting my pills that were prescribed in higher doses in half. I should be good at 4 to 6 months. I rarely dispose of unused medication unless it's been way over expiration date. Make sure that you continue to top it up. Like if you've already got 4 months supply of food, let's say, keep it topped off at that level as long as you can still keep topping it off, but try not to go out. You know what I mean? Like reduce going out at all. But remember, don't just think about grocery stores. Remember all those farmers markets. A lot of people already shop in those. And I'm staking out more of those places now, like where are the farms and that sort of thing. So I can go buy directly from farmers and that sort. So remember that you can, go out to the communities that have a lot of farms and a lot of times you can just buy straight from them. So Scott Wolf is saying Kroger was also hiring commercials on AM radio, needs stalkers and delivery people. Great. I hope that, and they need all the PPE they can get. So if they don't, hopefully they won't get sick, but some of them are definitely going to get sick, period. But people that have been sick and can be certified they've been sick before can be very valuable soon. And let's see. What is Jenna saying? When do we get when do we cut off getting groceries then? I hate restocking now in Florida when so many people are rushing out. I don't want to expose myself. One way to restock now, though, is just do it online. You can order, I think you can order Publix online. I'm almost sure you can because I checked that out a couple of years ago. Kroger, order online. Don't go out. And then when they deliver, leave it outside for a while in the sun. Let it. If you're in a position where you can leave it in the sun, just order online and don't go out. um, or order on Amazon, order on any things that you can order online. But keep your stock high. Definitely keep your stock high. Crickets, man, that's my alarm, Creighton. Everybody should have a cricket alarm. You don't want to wake up to all these. I like to wake up to like birds and crickets and natural sounds. I don't like to wake up to something. Well, I'm awake at this time anyway, but I don't like alarms that make unnatural sounds. My phone, you know what my phone ringer is? It's a mosquito buzzing. It's a mosquito buzzing to remind me. It's to remind me of dengue and things like that. And let me mention that as well. Dengue fever. You know, dengue, they call it breakbone fever. I know so many people that have had dengue in Southeast Asia, especially like Thailand. And now it's like the worst time in the world to get something else like dengue or malaria or something, anything. And so my telephone buzzer is a mosquito. My telephone ringer is a mosquito buzzer. If somebody would call me right now, you could hear it. And it reminds me, be careful for mosquitoes. Because, do I want to get dengue right now? I don't want to get it anytime. Dengue is one of those diseases like Dr. Hatfield said on Steve Bannon's Pandemic. That's the disease that, you worry that you're not going to die. And everybody I know that's had dengue, they're like, oh man, you really feel like you want to die. And they're in the hospital with that. Now, how are you going to get into the hospital when the hospitals are filled with with this virus, with the G's disease? So, yeah. And so dengue or anything else, like now, if you're doing any risky sports, mountain biking, certainly any contact sports, you shouldn't be doing them anyway for virus. Any MMA or anything like that, you better stop. Unless everybody you're doing MMA with is out on some island and nobody comes and goes from the island, then you're good to go, right? But if you get hurt, if you have a car accident, if you have a bicycle accident, if you have a rock climbing accident, or if you're out parachuting and you break your leg, guess what? This is big boy and girl rules right now. You are in a war. Everybody watching this, unless you're watching it 10 years from now, if you're watching it live right now, you are in a war. And some people it's already reached, like Iran, Italy, South Korea, obviously China. And other people, it's not reached in a wartime level yet, but it's going to for huge hundreds of millions of probably billions of people. So be careful for mosquitoes. That's why, and you can set up your own phone as a mosquito ringer. I'm probably the only person in the world that does something crazy like that, but I do it because despite all the wars and stuff I go to and all the combat I get into, I'm kind of a safety freak, man. I don't like to get hurt. I'm not afraid to die, but I don't want to get sick and I don't want to get hurt. And I eat healthy food, try to get all my sleep. Barbara Summy, college, closing on the online classes. Actually, this is a great time. This is a great time to go to more online classes. This is a moment of evolution for the United States and for the world. Let's use a dog bark for your phone ringer. What, to remind you not to get bitten by dogs, or to feed your dog, or what? Or you just love dogs? I love dogs. You can order online by Walmart, Julie Lee Cheney is saying. Okay. Hey, Dale Sneed, you can order Publix online. And Publix, I love Publix, man. Let's see. Melanie saying the shelves are wiped out at Kroger. Melanie Coghill is saying, I got milk at Costco. I've been looking for powdered milk all over the place here. I can't get powdered milk. Am I going to have to order it from America? Oh, bye, Daniel. David, you're probably already gone up in Utah. I hope everything's good. This is funny. Deborah's like, Jesus, don't some of you know how to make your own medicine? Look on YouTube. Well, I don't know. Some of that medicine can be a little complex to make. Hello, Bellis Chuck. I've gotten used to taking notes from your live feeds. All right. I appreciate it. What flags are those? United States, Czech flag, or Philippines, and is that Belarus? What flag is that? I don't remember that flag. The blue and the gold. Is that Belarus or Ukraine? Which flag is that? I've forgotten. I can't believe I've forgotten that. Getting rusty. Hector, doing this. Depends on what you need. If the rare stuff, your doctor. Yeah, on the medicines. Definitely, if you need something or somebody in your family and old people in your life, of which we all have, make sure that they are not all alone. They need to be quarantined, but make sure that they are not lonely quarantined. Like call them all the time, message them, become like a nuisance for them. So they're like, oh no, he's calling up again. so, so that they're feeling like that, they're not feeling lonely. Because because older people need to. Sorry, I'm looking at my security. Older people need to quarantine for probably a good 4 months. Is the way it's starting to look. Sagimoto, I've just ordered a copy of your new book. Please keep up your great work. It's been so educational. I really appreciate it. Ukraine is that flag. I'm sorry. I thought it was Belarus or Ukraine. Ukraine. Saigi. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce it. When Moto-san, when you read it, I hope you love it, and I hope you leave a review on Amazon. I would really appreciate that. I would. That's my crickets again. To remind me because I didn't turn the. Okay. Dana Gruschow. What age do I consider elder? Deanna's saying. I'm going by what the experts are saying now. Because I used to think 40 years old was like, you should probably be in a wheelchair, but now to me like 80 is finally getting old, but older at least. But now you got like somebody 81 I think climbed Mount Everest, right? Something like that, to the summit. But I'm going on this disease. It's more like 65, 60, 65, 70. It probably depends a lot on your general health as well. But if we listen to the experts, I'm not an expert, but I'm listening to what they're saying. And what they're saying is, I've heard different reports. People over 60 should quarantine, over 65. And certainly every one of them is saying at least over 70 for sure. And be prepared to quarantine for 4 months. So be prepared to quarantine for 4 months. If you're, I would say, certainly be prepared for 4 months. And so be prepared. Let's see. Okay, our government has plenty of seed and water and food shortage. DNA frozen high in the mountains. I had a friend get busted while snowmobiling back from Canada to buy cheap meds for a number of people. Get busted while snowmobiling. What was he busted for? That's young in my mind. Yeah, I mean, 70 years. When I say older now, I'm saying I'm going by older based on what they're telling us, who's more likely to get really sick and succumb to this. Certainly over 70, everybody's saying that. Nobody's saying less than that. Whether it's the Italians or the Chinese or the South Koreans or the others that I'm reading, everybody's saying like, you need to, if you're at least 70 or over, definitely. But others are saying 65. Some are saying 60. But 60 is not even old at all. These days, if you're 60, I expect you should be out doing like running. You should be like, wrestling alligators still. That used to seem old. It just doesn't seem old anymore at all. It's like, I don't even want to hear a 60-year-old tell me they're getting old. I've heard like 40 and 50-year-olds saying, I'm feeling old. I'm like, well, get the hell off the couch. Let's see. In Kentucky and Indiana, let's see. Melanie's saying restaurants are no longer allowed to let people dine in. They shouldn't. Wayshawn says, Wayshawn's asking, does Thailand doesn't sell powdered milk, or are the shelves wiped? I've never found it. I mean, you can find that sweetened stuff, like the carnation that's sweetened, but I don't like that. I want, I mean, carnation sweetened is good if you want to go for coffee or something, but I don't like sugar in coffee. But I want unsweetened. I don't want all sugar. I just want like milk, because milk, that's a great survival food, right? It'll last forever. It's like rice, Christine Chaffee, I got powdered milk at Amazon, then learned how to make oat milk. Let's see. Frosty 5800 saying, my 2 college-age sons are now online. It can work except for things like wet labs. Yeah. I mean, there's some things that when you're going to school, you just got to be there. I mean, if you're going, learning how to use a sophisticated microscope, and some of them are kind of complex, right? Or if you're learning how to do some things, you're just going to have to put your hands on it. And if you're out in a chemistry lab or something like that, or a magnet lab or something, you're just going to have to be there. Some things can't be done online, but a lot of things can. Learning English, learning whatever, learning a language. Hello in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, we are definitely at a war. Let's see. All right. I'm going to try to answer at least 1 or 2 more questions, and then I want to jump off because I have to prepare to. I missed so many comments because they're coming much faster than I can see. I'm sorry, I wasn't intentionally skipping anybody. There's just, I don't know, there's probably hundreds on there and I can't see them. And they're all over many different pages. So whatever page you're on, you might only see like 100 or 200, but on a different page, there's a bunch over there. And because I'm seeing them all come in, because this is live streaming out to multiple YouTube and Facebook pages, and also to Periscope. But please go to my YouTube page. That's where the quality is the best. And click the subscribe and click the bell. And then you can see when I go online. Sharon Andrews asks, are the China numbers going down, or are they still quarantined? It depends on where you're talking about, but I don't trust China. So, but their numbers, the reported numbers have just flatlined out, mostly. But I just don't trust them. But also, they seem to be unending quarantine in some places, like Apple stores have opened back up. Apple, other things have opened up. But the infectious disease experts warn that this could just rekindle it. Wayshawn saying, yeah, condensed milk isn't really milk. Over here in Perth, panic buying has wiped the shelves. Long life packet milk as well as powdered milk. You may not have any luck ordering in from the U.S. Get an almond cow and make your milk. All right. Rachel says, dry milk is bad for your health. Trying to get cancer warning on it. Really? Oh, I'm going to have to research that then. I will research that. Thank you for mentioning that. I'll research it. Jenna Thacker says, when I see people driving now, it freaks me out. LOL. I think 1984 was 20 years ago. All right. Hey, Dale. Hey, Sarge. Sarge, I hope everything's good. I was just about to tune out, actually. Oh, I didn't see Kimberly's questions on what was a wet market. What's a wet market? Thanks, Dale, for mentioning. I didn't see it. A wet market is when, or a live market is when they're selling like 100 different kinds of animals. It can be like snakes and turtles and like Florida. It can be, all kinds of things, exotic animals like I've never seen before, except when I go to one, and bats, literally bats. Cats, rats, dogs, literally cats, rats, and dogs. Not joking. Cats, rats, dogs, bats. So many turtles, of course, fish of many sorts, frogs with their legs broken but still alive. That's the refrigeration. What else? All sorts of birds, monkeys, pigs, of course. Just chickens. And all of it gets put together like in an unnatural way that Mother Nature never quite does, And so the infectious disease experts tell us that that's your little nuclear laboratory, so to speak, biological laboratory for really making things go bad. So when these, so many different types of animals together with humans, and then it can make this natural, jump from one animal to another and then into humans. All right. Rachel says, I'm going to go ahead and shut off here soon. Plenty Cancer Research says different. Obviously, you know nothing of the business yet. I don't know anything about powdered milk being carcinogenic. I'll study up on it. Thanks for mentioning that, Rachel. I'd never heard that before. Barbara Spalding says, "Are you still not criticizing Trump in order to not offend your more sensitive listeners?" I got plenty to say, and I'll be saying it later today on my pages. Let's see. One thing I am very concerned about, though, is this virus and all the things associated with, like the collapsing economy, will actually cost him the election. And I've been saying that since January, crystal clear. Look at the Jordan Harbinger interview that I did, where I'm saying it crystal clear, the way I just said it right now. And I'm saying, something like, this virus or whatever could cause President Trump reelection. And that was January that I was saying that. He published it in February, but we did the interview in January, and I was just saying crystal clear. This could cost President Trump the election, even when he's running against people like Joe Biden, who clearly has serious issues and serious mental issues. He should not even be driving, probably. I don't know if that's a truthful statement that I just made, but he kind of makes me wonder. And also, Bloomberg, he's just basically a boy for Xi. And then Bernie Sanders, I mean, he's a communist. He's never getting my vote. Let's see. I'm not saying there's any cancer related to dry milk. That was someone else. I have no idea. We can build our own farmer. Let's see. Sam Edwards says, wet market can have animals in cages stacked on top of another animals and dropping their feces on them. A virus can spread to other animals, then to humans. Oh, yeah. It's terrible. When you go to one of those markets, too, it's like horrific. It's a terrible treatment of the animals. I'm not saying that the U.S. treats them any better. The way we stack them up and that sort of thing. But it's just terrible. Keto Dancer, if China cuts our meds, we should confiscate their companies here, like Smithfield Foods, and take back ingredients for heparin that come from pigs. Actually, I think some of their... Okay, hold on. On the heparin thing, actually, I think they killed some of our people based on that particular drug, by the way. Read there's a book called China Prescription, China RX, and it talks about that in there. Read that book. It's a really good book. At China RX. And she talks about it. The author talks about it in there. So what's the author's name? Dr. I forgot her name. Anyway, she talks, or is she a doctor? Anyway, she talks about the heparin. But if we seize their assets, they'll seize ours, and of course, and that would be the ultimate trade war. That would be nationalization, and that could actually happen. And I mean, they could seize all kinds of stuff. Of course, that would mean. I mean, we're already in a vortex with China. I mean, this. as I keep saying and reiterate, China as we know it is dead. And it's been dead since December. And I first started saying this in January of 2020. But in December, by December of 2019, China as we know it was dead, even if it's still got a fluttering pulse. Sam Edwards, John Batchelor does not broadcast his podcast on YouTube. It's on his website. Actually, you know what? Oh, Keto, thank you. Thank you, Keto. Yes, it is Rosemary Gibson's book. Is she a doctor? Anyway, listen, John Batchelor, I hope I don't have a problem getting into the show today because normally they got their studio going, but this virus has got some of them home. So John was warning me about that yesterday. So hopefully I'll be on the show because he was, reminding me to, he never has to handle the call-ins. You know what I mean? Like a call-in to Lee or Nick, and they put me. I always like to get on hold because I like to listen to Gordon and the others talk before I come on. So I might be on hold for 5 or 10 minutes listening to them. So I love to listen to the show, and but now they're not in the office, so hopefully I'll be on if everything works out well. But make sure to listen to my other interview that I just published with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor. It's on my Facebook and it's on my Patreon page. Do hit my Patreon. I really need it. I really, really need it, by the way. I really actually do need it. And I really appreciate everybody who's helped on Patreon and PayPal and Venmo and Bank of America and Mitsubishi Bank in Japan. I super appreciate it. And I super need it. But this is obviously going to hit my economics as well. Sean Mitchell, thanks for publishing that on Rosemary Gibson. Is an award-winning author, inspirational speaker, and advisor to organizations that advance the public's interest in healthcare. National Authority on Healthcare Reform, Medicare. Okay, it's a good book. Those wet markets are terrible, Barbara. Hey, Word Dunlap, can you publish that link to John Batchelor's show? Can you publish that? Actually, if you Google John Batchelor podcast, he should pop up. And it's a great radio. I've been listening to it for years. And so when Gordon Chang came to Hong Kong last year, and we were having lunch with some really interesting people, including Matt Schlapp, who was the guy that you see shaking hands with Trump a couple weeks ago at the CPAC get together, and we were all having lunch together and dinner and breakfast. And that was when Gordon Chang asked me if I would like to be a guest on the John Batchelor show, and I was like, absolutely. What? Are you kidding? I love John Batchelor's show. I listened to it for years, man. I listened to you on it. I listened to Gordon Chang on it. I listen to it all the time whenever I get a chance. Thanks, Word Dunlap. Yeah, I'm still in touch with Eric Nicola. I just was talking with him a couple days ago. Tommy Barrios is saying that John Batchelor's podcasts are not live, but he actually also does. It streams out to 130 radio stations. I believe that's live, right? I think that's live when we do that. I need to ask John. I thought that was live, but then it goes out on podcast as well. So that's why I put that link up to the podcast earlier. Oh, thank you, Bellows. I could definitely use it. Definitely use any support. Any financial support is massively welcome. Massively welcome. I'll use some of it to buy some grits. That way, if it gets hungry over here, at least I'll use my grits as my last. I'll get 2 bags of grits. One that I'll have for now for comfort, and then one that be like last line of defense grits. Let's see. Yeah. There's actually, who's got an excellent video on exponential growth is Chris Martinson on peak prosperity. Peak prosperity is quite good. I recommend it. and he does. Oh yeah, he's on Audio Boom. You're talking about John Batchelor, and yeah, I put that link is on my Facebook right now. Gordon Chang sent me the last link, and I put it up. Gordon Chang emailed me our last one, and it's on my Facebook now. And I was on there with Gordon Chang and John Batchelor. You know, I love their work. They got so many great people on their show. So when they asked me to come on, I just couldn't believe it. I was stunned. It's my crickets again. I don't want to forget. One time I missed the show. I missed the show daylight savings time. So I call up. I look at my emails. I'm like, why is Lee sending me these desperate emails? I call up real quick. I'm like, what's going on? Or I was like, I'm ready. And she's like, okay, something like, where were you? And I was like, uh-oh. And she's like, she says, you're late. And I was like, late? Oh, it's daylight savings time. You know what? I was doing a podcast, or I was doing a live with you when I was supposed to be on the show, but the daylight savings time had changed. Man. Oh, good to see me smile. Oh, I'll smile. I got no problems with that. All right, here, Barbara's saying she has. That's why I keep it. Everybody needs to smile. You know, there you go. Everybody should have a stress bear, right? I got this stress bear up here because when people are telling me, some people say, oh, you're making people panic. Whenever somebody says that, I'm going to show them this to make them not panic. Stress bear. That's my anti-stress bear for making people not panic. All right. Oh, okay. Tommy is saying John Batchelor shows live here. Yeah. Actually, if I wasn't on right now, I would want to. Donna Carter is asking for my PayPal email. That is, thank you, Donna. That is Michael.Yon at gmail.com. Michael.Yon at gmail.com. My name with a period between Michael and Yon at gmail.com. And actually, if you look on the top of my Facebook, are you on my Facebook asking that? If you're on my Facebook, it's tagged to the, yeah, you're on Facebook. Well, I don't know what Facebook you're on. You might not be on mine. It's tagged, it's anchored to the top of my Facebook. Yeah. Yeah, I got to get ready for John Batchelor. Thanks. 8:30. I need to get ready for John Batchelor and Gordon Chang. They always ask me hard questions, you know, and I have to be ready. I have to be prepared. All righty. So let me go off now. I will definitely, inshallah, I'll definitely be on later. And so thank you for everybody that supported my work on Patreon or PayPal or Venmo or uh, Mitsubishi Bank. And it's all on my, you can see the links are all on the top of my Facebook page. And they're also on my Patreon page or Patreon. Patreon is, I like Patreon because when people sign up, it's monthly. And then I can count on it. I can make a budget, like on, for instance, if this causes civil unrest in the United States, I will definitely go back to the United States. If it causes civil unrest, and it could, it's a very high chance. And if it does, I am absolutely going to need your support. All right, so I'm just going to go off for now. Thanks. I'm sorry I didn't answer all the questions, but you know how I am. I'm from the South, so we're like polite like Japanese. We try to answer everything, but I couldn't. And make sure you get candles and everything that you need for light, just in case your electricity goes out. Plenty of batteries, candles, water filters, thermometers, all kind. When you go to the stores, walk up and down every aisle in your hardware store. Walk up and down every aisle in the pharmacy, and walk up and down every aisle in the grocery store. To make sure that you didn't forget something. Because, you know, if you're like me, you will have forgotten something, no matter how hard you try not to. Or you'll go through and you go, oh, I need to get some Brillo pads or something, you know. So, all right. Home Depot still has big candles. Yeah, I was looking for bigger candles. Uh, all right. All right. I'm going to go off right now. Ciao, and I'll talk with you later. And listen to me on the John Batchelor Show. Mike out. End broadcast.